Let's go back in camera. So again, she has an IUD for a year, she's clean, then she starts seeing blood. She goes to the rabbi, she goes to the doctor, she's a hard time Zainikim, she goes on progesterone, she gets her Zainikim, she goes to the mikveh, everything's good. But now, Lamaisa, she's still bleeding slowly, slow drips of blood. So what's the shayla? The shayla is that Lamaisa, she says, so she looked in, she was reading Rabbi Forster's woman's book, reading up on staining and spotting and etc. And then, so she wanted to know that Lamaisa, she feels an external sensation as the blood is coming out. So even though it's only a drop of blood, is it something that she has to be concerned about? And there's these drops that are coming out for a few days as it's slowing down. And that was her shayla. Her shayla was that she feels the blood coming out. Is there what to be concerned about? This was the question. Is that your response?
No, I'm trying to figure out what the question is.
This is what she asked.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn to respond. So your response to her is al sagroshes? I don't think she didn't know what you're talking about.
What are you concerned about?
She wants to know that she has been taught and she has read that when you feel something is a more serious shayla. So she feels it coming out and now she finds a dot of blood. Is it something that she has to be concerned about? So question number one is, what exactly do you feel? What exactly do you feel? Does she feel, I feel it coming out, I feel it coming out, I feel it coming out. I really think I feel it coming out. But you should know, I also feel things coming out, and like, when I feel things coming out, they're just regular, discharges at times. Now, when I feel it coming out, I see that it's actual blood coming out. So what's the marmakaim?
What if you have 3 times that it was clean, then you could rely on?
Before, you just jump to the end. Where does it start? This is the Chumud Hadeshin. This is the Chumud Hadeshin. Very good. This is her Gisha. And you're referencing the Pesach Tshuva that what?
Well, that if she feels a sneeze, it has to be internal feeling.
Good. Number one. Number two is what else? Good. Number three is that does she have a chazaka that it's nothing from the fact that it was all the maris tahiris, etc. So when all the dust settles, now va'id. What we say? Oh, very good, very good. She's saying it's dam, but where was the dam? It's on a colored garment. So even in the Chumud Hadeshin's world of her gisha umatza something, so then that gets involved in another shayla. But lemaisa, so it is a very geshmak shayla. However, I'll just say that what I said to her, and she said, "What's the answer?" Nothing she has to worry about. There's nothing she has to worry about. Why ayin sham? We have, I think, as you said.
She's not fine.
Why?
No, keep away from your husband.
Very good, very good, very good. That's going to lead into part 2. Very good, very good. She's not a niddah. She is muteres. However, while you're actively staining, you should not be together with your husband. You should not have intercourse with your husband. You should have tashmish. If you want a chibuk v'nishik and whatnot, that's all mutter. But you should not have tashmish. Very good. But what I really wanted to know is, what is it? Did we hit the jackpot? Finally, the woman that actually feels like coming out of her body. So I said, you're fine because whatever, you're fine. Okay. I said, but Lamaisa, probably what you're feeling is, because I tried to say, are you just feeling wetness? And she didn't buy it. She said, no, I feel it coming out. I feel it coming out. I feel it coming out. So I said, you feel it coming out. Does that mean that at the juncture of out with underwear, the wetness is what you feel because it's a sensitive area of your body, but you don't actually feel something falling out of your body? Now, that's a very hair that we just split, because what does it mean, something falling, versus what I just said is you feel it at the exit. Yeah, whatever, right? That would be a good problem, theoretically, But in the shower, there's water and whatnot. Yeah, in a chanami. But I wanted to bring out is, even though she was convinced, I feel, which, by the way, just on the side, many big rabbanim will say, I don't care how many times she swears that she feels, she doesn't feel. And Kol Tov, we don't have our gushes nowadays, and move on. We don't have any Chumud Hadeshin, I don't have to deal with it. So when you put that together with the rest of the story we just said, it's for sure fine. But Lamaisa, what's nice is, she said, Taka, that makes sense. I said, that's probably what I'm feeling. So that's another reason why l'chayr there's nothing to worry about. As to Rav Nachum Daiv, so her follow-up question was, Lamaisa, when am I muteris to my husband? I've been having these staining episodes. I've been told 24 hours and this and that. When am I muteris? So what's interesting, there's no answer. I'm not obviously not, I'm not going to answer this question. It's a subjective thing. But what she said was that she was told, Sam, it's just good to hear what's going on out there in the Welt. She said, I saw a little brown this morning. I said, what, where, how do you know it's brown, right? You're wearing colored underwear. She said, no, I didn't see it on my underwear. I took a tissue to touch myself, to feel, to see, to check where I'm going. And this is very common, whether this was advised by a Rav, whether this was her own personal thing, common. Whether it's smart or not, le'yudea. But, what do you mean? You are yudea.
No, you are Niddah.
That what?
Tissues are not colored. What's the
No, but should you be actively checking? Why not? So this no. No, the reason is Lamaisa tissues are a shayla. So why are we creating a shayla? Lamaisa, it's a world war machlekes. So Elamai, the answer is we're creating a shayla because it's better than her being with her husband, God forbid, and whatever. So Elamai just don't be with her husband. She doesn't know. I don't know. There's feelings. Also, you also just have to get involved in the psychology. Once you tell her to start looking, why do you think we have all the shaylas of a woman looking? Because they're looking, and then if you tell them not to look, then they do look. All the issues, all the psychology with the fact that Demetrius is about to walk in from the back door and check on the light. It's the same type of psychology. So Lamaisa, no, there's no one actually there. Nachum Dov was good. He didn't flinch this time. Last time, should we tell the story?
Going down doesn't help when it comes to these things.
Going down?
Meaning if the spots used to be this.
Oh, of course. So I'm sorry. I didn't finish.
You have a spot and still be together.
So I didn't finish the story. So the answer to the story is if at a chveis, 8 in.morning, there was a dot of brown that wasn't even out, right? She had to feel herself to find it. If there's nothing until 8 p.m. tonight, 10 p.m. tonight, there's not an ironclad rule of 24 hours.
No, I'm thinking if there is down. If you see a trend of Sunday, Monday,
You're playing with fire. I can.
Smaller,
To quote Harav Hagoyin Rav Asher Weiss, Shtayden no avois, haveirot min avayiro. What do you want from me? That's between you and your Mesil Sharm Seder.
What's the chash?
That is going to be done, b'shas tashmish.
No, I'm saying, but
It could be going down. Good, so it's going down. I'm just saying, if you're not careful, you get the call the next morning. Rabbi, what in the world did he tell me to do? Lamaisi, you said it would be fine, and we were together, and my husband found some dam in his aver, and now the chvais nishvas. So it's scary. And they're probably usher, and you're making them be usher, and now she has an IUD, she'll be usher for the next 6 years. It's not a simple endeavor. So, 2 shaylas. That was number 1. Number 2, this one I did not look up the answer. It's not a common shayla. The shayla was, a woman has a aflaga of, I don't remember how many days, let's call it 27 days. She had 2 aflagas of 27, so she's had how many riyas? 3, very good. Baruch Hashem, we learned something in Kuf Pei Test. You should not have said that out loud. Okay. So now let's continue. He was just testing you. So now the third aflaga was she did a bedika on the 27th day of her period,
or the first 2.
and it was bad.
Or the first 2.
Riyas.
By day?
27. Yeah. All was at the time. The third one was a bedika. So now, are you kaveh a vest with a bedika? The marmakim is, who remembers, don't say kaf pei test. What? So that's the sugya. The sugya is at the end of Kuf Sadi. And I don't have a raya.
What's
It's not there's a lavush over there. And the lavush seems to say it's only via 3 times 3 bedikas, which would be medayik, but 1 bedika not, because it's not a re'iyah. Lamaisa.
Because she's also daraisa 3 times.
Yeah.
On the 27th.
Yeah. So that's the marmakim. That's the trivia question for some extra chicken tenders who could find an answer. And with that, let's move on to Kuf Sadi. I ordered an extra chicken tenders. They did. No. You need to get a marmakum. Seder. Weiter. Kuf Sadi Beis. Kuf Sadi Beis. Kala nechneses l'chuppah. I'm going to speak out something which is off the page, which is something that we spoke out with a lot of the chaver, just to make sure we're not making a mistake, that dam chimud is an issue. Correct. But in reality, in any scenario that anyone should ever be involved in, Alpi Pashtos, what?
What's the shekel doesn't say anything about it? What's the shekel speaks to?
What are we talking about? Kufsat, what I just said?
Tam Niddah or Sua.
Where are you?
She's suckers.
No, what are you, what's your,
No,
New stuff?
Forget. I'll wait.
okay, okay. Yeah, what? Yeah, find what you want to read. Find what you want to read. Lamaisa, in any scenario that we're going to be involved in, it's not a dam chimud shayla. Why not? What do you mean? Tavuli nasei suichlei shev zainikim. The answer is because every woman nowadays is a niddah. Why is every woman a niddah? Because she is. And because she doesn't go to a mikvah when she's single. Why? What's the marmakam? Kuf Bey Gimel, very good. The Rivash, very good. That Penuyos go to the mikvah, Penuyos do not go to the mikvah. That was scary. That's the Rivash, and therefore they don't go to the mikvah. So if they don't go to the mikvah, she's an Niddah. She needs Zayin Nikim. So basically, with that statement, the entire Kuf Sadi Beis sort of goes out the window. There's never going to be a case that is Kuf Sadi Beis oriented. Meaning, in a lot of the literature that you see, you could be tricked to think that there's a case, as I did for everyone here, that, let's get married tonight. It's called a klutz kasha, it's catch-22. Meaning, either she went to the mikveh yesterday, why? Because she thought she's getting married tomorrow night, and therefore she's not a problem. Or she didn't go to the mikveh because she thought she's getting married in 2 weeks, and therefore, what's going to help? So, mimanav shach, the fact that there's dam chimud is not going to really factor into any of the real life scenarios that are going to happen. The only case that we thought of, which there's no raya lesser, so there's no. You have a marmakum?
The Matzah shekel.
That what?
He just says that if she's waiting out to Niddah, then she needs. He's talking about the bedikas. They need a bedikas. They have 1 and 7.
Oh, that's for sure. No, slow.
Differentiating between a Niddah.
That's for sure. No, we're going to get there. No, very good. But what?
I'm sure it's very classic with older women who get married.
Well, very good also. 1 second, we'll get to those 2 cases. I'm saying in a regular, good, let me clarify. You're all 100% correct, so I want to clarify a little bit more. In a regular couple that she's at her time of nidus, and he's a male who could potentially have children, when they're getting married, dam chimud is not a parsha. It's not a parsha. Now, maybe there's this naya minhag that we have nowadays that we don't see each other for 7 days. Maybe up to that, which we'll get to in 2 minutes. But also the regular waiting 7 days. You have to wait 7 days because of dam nida. Rabbi Yehuda is bringing up a very valid point, which is how many bedikas to do. Meaning in a regular Zayin Nikim, which we didn't learn yet, Kuf Sadivav, which is coming very soon in Meretz Hashem. We know already that you need pashtos 2 bedikas or nothing starts. Yom Echad or Yom Shviv, Ein Lahakil, said the Ramah, which we've seen in passing already. But over here, could be on these Zayin Nikim, you might need less. Good. Va'id, there's another very big difference, that the bedikas that she's going to be doing are going to be different types of bedikas. Why are they different types of bedikas? Because she has besulim, and therefore it's going to be more difficult for her to do a full bedika. But that's nothing to do in the sugya of dam chimud. So again, that's just the klutz kasha we had to speak out. The only case that potentially is, do we say that there's such a thing as a naya chimud? And the pasha says we don't have a raya. We don't have a raya to that from the sugya. Meaning, what would be the one case? The case would be, let's say today is Sunday. Let's say they are planning on getting married on Wednesday night. So they went, and she goes to the mikvah on Monday, which is very classic, within 4 days, which we'll get to that in a moment. And then Tuesday, they decide they want to move up the wedding 1 day. Would that be a case that there's another dam chimud? What's the raya pashtus nish? Because this lashachar was tavu linase. They had a tavu linase. Do you get 2 tavu linases? Pashtus not, and therefore, once they're what do you say? Yeah, meaning it happened. Whatever it was. Correct. Now, all the rayas and all the funny cases that the chassan didn't show up and they're switching the chassan, this and that's none of our cases. We're just discussing the classical, and that was never classical until the world of Corona, that we're switching the wedding the day before. But again, if she had Zayin Akim, she did. If she didn't, she didn't. I don't see anything else. Yeah.
Most of the cases in text, they were pushing off the wedding.
That's all? Okay, stay there.
But maybe pushing up the wedding, you could say that there is more, that there is new.
Pashtus is once there's a fluali nase, once there's a zayin nikiyim, there's no makar. Pashtus again. I didn't find the makar. Fakir, if someone finds a makar, and I believe, if I remember correctly, that was the psak. You ever say?
No, so I just wanted to clarify. So we said, even in that one case, they push it up one day.
Yeah.
Seemingly it's not going to be Chimud.
Pashta's not. Pashta's dam chimud is dam chimud, and you had dam chimud, and you had your zayin nikim, and you had your zayin nikim. The fact that you're moving the wedding up a day, what's the raya that it creates a new chimud? There's pashtas. Pashtas is no raya to that. Va'oid, let's remember, are we discussing a chashash deraisa or chashash derabanan? Derabanan. Derabanan, Taz, Shach, Magen Mishnah, everyone. Which is very important, as we'll see in a moment, which is the $1 million shayla, is when there was not a bias mitzvah, when there is a isser yichud. That is going to be the $1 million shayla in our sugya, which we're going to get to in one moment. So that's more of a hakdama. Now, there's an interesting shayla that a lot of the achronim deal with, that pashtos, in order to have dam chimud, a woman has to know what tashmish is. If she doesn't know what tashmish is, how could she have dam chimud? It doesn't make any sense. Her body is not going to be, desiring something she doesn't know what she's desiring. So the achronim deal with, before a woman counts zayin nikiyim, does she have to be told and taught, let's say, again, maybe a more sheltered girl, let's not get involved in the practicalities of what a woman does know, what a woman doesn't know. It's irrelevant, but does she have to know does she have to be Yedea Tam Bia? Does she have to know in Yanei Bia before she counts her Zayin Nikim? It's very interesting that many achronim, Heintig, Sefer Garlecha, they've asked this, which is the Raya, by the way. Very good. What are you trying to say?
What happened back then?
Meaning, which means?
Well, it could mean that they already knew.
Or not, but it's not a mandamar, meaning they didn't. Someone would have had to, and so it says that. Someone says that lahedya, that someone should have had to. Yeah, the sefer agur ba'alecha. I don't want to say who the sefer is. There is a sefer agura ba'alecha on hilchis mezuzah, which is, I still know if it's the same Baal Mechaber. Either way, he says, Lo Shamanu, I never heard Shavia Kala has to tell it, because that was obviously back in the Haim, it was Davia Kala. Yeah, you have it right?
Passes you have to redo. If you did it, it's fine, but that's what you redo.
What are you talking about?
Where you go,
The last
try
trial.
to come early.
Chassan being pushed up.
Yeah, that what? What? Almana.
That's
That what?
This was the case.
That what?
So it comes out that the Etzem here, since they did it, it's fine, but Etzem you should really be redoing it.
Do what? They did what? Tell me, read me the task. Sivkat and what? Sivkat and what? Okay, yeah. That what?
You know the whole thing?
Yeah.
Really, the Alpha Mishal Mana also Shalek Yedin, Kimin Shalek Ayla Bir Al Kad Misal Chasana, Ad Sheva Chasam Nichnas Tekev Nimtza, Shebashash Schila Das Abir Nischadish Achimud, the Tzarch Lachsa Lumesh Shivin Kim. You come up and Kimin Shikvar over here, Vasa came in and Afrisha Miklevsa.
This is in Sif what?
And Chas.
Sif Chas? One second. Could I missed it? Hold on 1 second. Maybe that is the raya. 1 second. Taz Sifkat and Ches. Not in Sif Hey. Sif Hey? Sif Daled. What's he going on in Sif Hey?
It's Masu Shose, but brings his Maisa.
Okay, so fine. I'm gonna leave it as a Sarach Ian if that's a Marmakayim. I don't know. No, it definitely is a Marmakam. The question is, I don't have that here, so I wanna look at it. I like the Marmakam. I just don't know. I mean, it's a. What is Pshat and Taz? You have then. So what does that mean? But it's fine. We never found such a thing. If this chimud is not chimud, what does it mean? No. Okay. Seder. No, I like the Marmakam, and let's put that under scrutiny. So either way, we're in the middle of that. Do you have to tell them? And everyone says, like Rav Nachum Dave says, we never heard of such a thing. and he brings a nice right. How old were they when they got married? Bisman Shas? They were 12. They were 12, or yeah, that's even before earlier. And he says, L'chayr, they didn't know what was going on then, and we still see that there is something called Chimud, and Midavkin Vaiter, and good. Now, with that, we now dive into the minog, the Heilige minog. The Heilige minog. Okay, I'll leave this Geshmak is even Chasidim, but I don't want to running slow on time. So, we have a minog nowadays that what do? We don't see Chazan and Kal do not see each other for 7 days. Is there a source for this? The answer seems like the Yakis don't have such a minog. Let's not talk about that in public. So the source is unknown, as Rabbi Forrest writes in his book, that there is no known source. Aber Lamaisa, the Kilas Yaakov, the Steiper Lenarchas Rabbeinu, does write that it's a nice thing to do, and Rosh Zalman writes already that it's a nice thing to do. The Chachani writes nice thing to do, but Rosh Zalman particularly writes that you should realize it's not a din, meaning if there's some sort of shvara matziv that the chas and kala have to deal with, lamaisa it's mutter. The minhag is they don't even talk on the phone. I think the minhag is still that they don't text each other. Could someone correct me if I'm wrong? That's not the minhag anymore?
No,
Is that what's going on out there? No?
you guys text
You don't have to talk about yourself, you can talk about your friend. We're asking for a friend.
Yeah. My friends all told me they don't text.
He got married over Zoom. Okay, let's not discuss that. So now, I believe that is the minhag. I believe that is the minhag. It's interesting that in the Shailat of Chai Kanievsky, everyone else says there's nothing to do with Chimud, because what Be'etzem Sheikhs, we're about to talk about in a minute, is that our Dam Chimud doesn't really coincide with 7 days usually, because often we give an extra 2-3 day buffer to make sure they can get to the mikvah and make sure everything goes well. So then you're going to run into an issue, because it means they're seeing each other at day 9, perhaps, the final gift that's being given out on, that's gift number 1, or that's the pre-gift to the 7 gifts of the most ridiculous minhag that has been developed in the last 5 years. And so one should quickly be abolished, because that is creating terrible tzaras for the people. Instead of, as Rabbi Forrest says, no, it's a beautiful thing that chas and kal don't see each other. They have time to contemplate that the fact that they're getting married, and now it's no, I have time to contemplate what gift should I buy on night number 4, because in this ridiculous minhag someone decided that this should be done, and let's move on. Baruch Hashem, I got married before such a minhag existed. Yeah.
Also, the Dam Chimud, if they see each other by Bedekin, that's going to cause a big problem.
So that grada, that is discussed. Do we say that they didn't see each other for a while? Does that create Dam Chimud? That they say absolutely not. Sfardim don't have this minhag. Now, Sfardim, and the Sefer, I have a Sephardi friend that I checked in with beforehand, the Heilige Reb Victor, and I have a beautiful story to share from him in a moment. But so the Yalkut Yosef writes, Atzleinu, that by the Ashkenazim, they go separately to the wedding and they play the whole cat and mouse game, that they make sure not to teach each other. And you were looking for a Meir Makam who says that it's not who you thought says it. There is a sefer called the Ar Yitzchak, If you want to know who that is Rabbi Abadi from back in Lakewood currently. He says that it's ridiculous, that Lamaisa messes up and makes everyone crazy at the chasana, and he's going here and she's going here and looking around the corner. But Lamaisa, that's what we do. So he writes something interesting, and maybe I don't want to get involved in all the history. Maybe things would have changed, but it didn't, and therefore that's what we do. And you make sure whatever it is. But Lamaisa Svardim, the chazan picks up the kala, very cute, and they drive to the chasana. They drive to the chasana together. Why did I remember this? Because my Sephardi friend told me a beautiful story that on the way to pick up the kala, his car broke down. So it's also a shtick. In Ashkenazim, some have a whole limo post wedding matziv. Sephardim have pre-wedding. That the chatan picks up the kala in a fancy car. Not their fancy car, a different type of fancy car. They get, not everyone, but a lot of them, this is what they do. You get this Geshmak Matziv, and you drive up to the wedding, as the bride and groom, husband, Chassan and Kala, and he sent me a picture of his car that was smoking on the side of the road. And I said to him, wait, who's that guy in the picture? It's not you. He said, that's the Shomer. I was with the Shomer. It was before I picked up the Kala. So he says to me, now I understand why we have a Shomer, because he was there to keep me cool. While my car was broken down as I'm going to pick up the kala to get to the chasana. So So the Shemer picking up the car, I know what just happened.
No, what happened?
When you pick up the column.
He stays in the car.
No.
He stays in the car. He stays in the car.
No, he doesn't.
Stays in the car.
No, the
I'll
council.
fly. You're allowed to have yichud.
I stays in the car. So I'll tell you what I just mentioned. I have no clue what the Shemer does, but I'll tell you what I wrote back to him. I wrote back to him. I said, I think there's another reason why the Shemer is there. I said, I think the other reason. I said, maybe the other reason the Shemer is there. We just finished learning our Chakas. I know she's not in Niddah yet, but we just finished learning our Chakas that's sitting in one core and a tiol and a zan and this and that. I don't know, getting into a small, fancy gishmaka car, driving to the chasana without a Shemer, lo yodea if that's the most kosher thing to be doing the day of your chasana. And
It's worse 'cause she's tar.
and
You're not married.
thank you. You're speaking out all the things that we yes.
That's
It's mutter. You didn't see what the shalah is screaming. The shalah on the side of the page is Pashin Kair Muriros ala Minagaza that you're saying is not a big deal.
They're getting married that night.
The shalah didn't seem to agree, and let's leave our personal. Wow.
What's the car for Shiloh and stuff? Is it?
We didn't get there yet. Okay, we didn't get there. We will get there, Mirta Shem. It's all al pi kabal. So, Lamaisa, how many days elapsed between the Tvila and the Chasana? And the Chasana, this is also one of the big offshoots of our Sugya, sidebar Sugya, but this is actually Lalach Lamaisa, is we try not to allow more than 4 days based on the minig of old that used to be Toivel on Wednesday and get married on Matzei Shabbos, which for those who are looking for a Marmakam, the Aruch HaShulchan and the Lavosh write explicitly that the Chasana was Matzei Shabbos. And that's where the minhag came for 4 days. Lamaisa, on those 4 days, you need to do a bedika. You know, the Ar Machmirim, the Ar Mekilim. I believe the contemporary minhag is that we do not do bedikais in those 4 days, and as well, they do not wear white. They do not wear white. Again, that would be the same svara they quote a Ramesha perhaps about wearing red. It's not a Ramesha in print. It's a Ramesha Mipia Shmua. Lamaisa, I think our minhag is that they don't wear white. And there's other details that you saw. They're allowed to go to the mikvah by day over here, Akala. And we actually advise not to go the night before the wedding for multiple reasons. The first reason is to give you an extra buffer, because you're going back to your Hefsek Torah 7 days before. If the Hefsek ends up being bad or something gets messed up, you want to have a day or two buffer. So what they do is they do it, 1 or 2, whatever, an extra day or two before the chasana. Just to point out, I don't remember which one of the Kala books I was reading says, I think it was the El Sar writes this, Stam, it's just a nice place to mention this, that the Kalas are taught they should do a test run with Bedikas like a month before the chasana, just to make sure they know what they're doing and to make sure, they know what's going on. Don't wait until 8 days before the chasana for the first time in her life to do a Bedika, do a Hefsek Torah, and all of a sudden we don't know what's going on, and it's not a good idea. And all the above. What are the more concerns than that? There are more than just hurt herself, but let's leave it. Va'id, Shevet Levi writes something very nice. He says, no, you shouldn't go the night before the wedding. He says, Kol kala b'layla of ne'ach hasla mitucha. She's stiff. Kol kach, shein daitim yusheves aleh. She doesn't have a clear mind. B'shas tvila. And that's halacha nachas tvila, that you're supposed to be loose and calm. And he's saying, again, I don't think he's saying it would passel it, but he's saying that it could run into an issue. L'maisa b'shas adchak, we do allow up till 7 days. But if there's going to be more than 4 days, then you should at least have one bedika within those 7 days. If not, b'diavad we're makel on that as well. Regarding what you were mentioning before, with that if 7 days elapsed,
Let's say it was 15 days, then it's no good?
so that's a good.
Or she's tired, who cares?
No, so it seems from the text over here that after 4 days it's an issue, and then the Sidrei Torah says if 7 days elapse it's an issue. So the Torah says l'maisa. No, we're talking about after the 7 days. After 7 days, it's Sidrei Torah Sivkat and Tess. Because he says, as you get closer to the chasana, there's more chimud. Misham hachi im loy botka. It's asma pam achas toich zayin yamin she'achar tvilasa. Achar Tfilas, we're talking about now. Says the Sidrei Torah, Chayshina l'shem arasa machmas chibud, and he requires another 7 zayin nikiyim. The Chachmas Adam. That's only if she didn't do. So if you do one bedika on those 7 days, lemaisa, we're going to be makel. There's a chavis das that wants to be more makel. Okay, these things don't really happen due to the fact that they plan it properly, but that is, and there's a machzah shekel as well on the Ramah and Sif Beis that he says if you didn't do any bedikas at all within those 7 days afterwards, if you do any bedikas at all, and that's where he also says about one bedika. So let's just mention that halacha. Within the 7 nikiyim, it's different than regular zayin nikiyim. Lemaisa, we're more mekel on bedikas. Let's leave it at that. Pashtus, you need 1 in 7. Lemaisa, they try to get at least 1 a day, but let's leave it at that. And the final shayla is, when do they become aser? Now, when do they become aser? When is there an iser yichud? And this is a very shasat chaktik shayla, and a pretty common shayla. What's the story? The story is they get married on, let's go, Sunday night, and lemaisa, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, chas and kala trying to get bias mitzvah. They weren't able to. Wednesday night she becomes a niddah. Now, why that happened might be a shayla, meaning if they were on birth control before the wedding, so then just continue the birth control until you have your bias mitzvah. Now, some like to time it. Because again, this is something we have to talk about more. Because just think about what happens. Let's say they get married Sunday night. Let's say Sunday night, Baruch Hashem, there are people, by the way, as much as everyone whatever, there are people who actually do have the bias mitzvah on Laila Rishena, which that's a nice shmuz. But Lamaisa, they have a bias mitzvah on Laila Rishena. Givaldik. When does she become a nida? So right then, right? You're middle learning Kuf Sadi Gimel. But if she's on pills, her period is not going to come until she starts taking the pill. So then she didn't stop taking the pill on Monday. It takes 2 days for her period to come. Her period is not going to come until Tuesday or Wednesday. And then, how long does it take her to bleed? I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days. So now they were together on Sunday night, but now she's not going to get a clean bedika maybe until, I don't know, the next Sunday or Monday, due to the fact that she's going to get, her bleeding is going to take time, which is the reason that some want to try to time it. Well, is that stop taking the pill. Be'etzem, and I did not do history, but I think going back 15 years, the Kalas used to stop taking the pill the day before the wedding. Which leaves you a 48-hour window, be'erech, which leaves you the first night. If it doesn't get done then, it leaves you the second night. And then it's much more, everything is more in sync. Lamaisa nowadays, I don't believe that is what's going on. I believe the Kalas are taking the pill for this reason that we're talking about right now, that sometimes it doesn't happen on night 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And therefore, what they do is they wait. But now it could create a prolonged nidus. Now,
You wouldn't be concerned about Dam Machas Tashish if she takes the pill then and within 48 hours she can see blood?
Dam Machas Tash is different. So I don't understand what your concern is.
She might start bleeding. We know there's
Why not just
most
wait
likely
till
she
she
will
goes
bleed
home?
within those 48 hours.
No. Oh, so that goes back to the sugya of pills that we didn't talk about. But if the box says that for 2 days she's not going to bleed, that means for 2 days you don't have to be worried about. That's why we never talk about it, because that's all sugya. And more than that, you have to know the science. But now we talk about it, okay? We're design. But no, that's the answer. That's the answer. Now, you're asking a good question, is that if the box says 2 days, you might be boxing into a very small time window. I hear. But let's leave it at that. So, what's our sugya? Lamaisa, she becomes a nida, and he didn't have a bia gemura. What's the halacha? Says Sif Dalid. Isser yichud, azayvi a chubas nida, which I don't want to say is worse than a chubas nida, just, to play out the scenario, a chubas nida, okay, it was a yedua dika matziv, they knew they had an issue, and okay, fine, so they planned properly. What they do at a chubas nida, we do have to talk about. We do have to talk about the lamaisa, what they do, but okay, fine. And, okay, they do it and fit on. Here, they're married Sunday night, everything's good until the Thursday night. Now comes Shabbos Sheva Brachas. It's like Oivei Zmir. We have an Isser Yichud. We got to start inviting kids over. Shver, Shviger. It's a massive. It's a grade A Shasat Chak. There's no Shaila. If anyone was curious if it's called the Shasat Chak, it certainly is.
You're double messed up, because then once she goes through mikvah and comes back and she's usher the next night.
Well, why?
Meaning once there is beer gemara.
Oh, so consider that you're learning Kuf Sadi Gimel now. That's always with Dam Basulim. You always have that issue. That's okay, Seder, but at least we're talking, this is a much higher level issue. We're talking about Isser Yichud. We're talking about they're married, but they can't be together at all. It's pretty schwer not to have Yichud with your wife, husband, and if it's not schwer, then you should be seeing a therapist, because I should hope. Ayin.
So in this case,
See about the picture. I wanted to. Yeah, let's not get off topic. Let's not get off topic. But no, because someone might suggest that while they're engaged, there's no archakas. There's no archakas when they're engaged, right? Even though she's a niddah, there's no archakas. So, midaf ayin in all the questions, if any of those should be mutter when they're engaged, or maybe not for obvious reasons, and let's leave it at that. So now the question is, what are we going to paskin? What are we going to paskin? So the pashtus is be a gemura, and there's nothing I can tell you why be a gemura, because if not, it's Yitzri Takva, as the Sif Tal taught us, as it is Yichud. However, there is a Tzitz Eliezer that developed his Seimichan, and the Tzitz Eliezer, there's a Chazanish as well, but the Chazanish is not a proper tshuva. The Chazanish is, there are Svarim that are quoting the Chazanish. The Tzitz Eliezer is a tshuva from his pen himself, in which, who is the Tzitz Eliezer? Rav Voldenberg, I believe is his name. He was one of the big tshuva writers. He was a very big medical expert. He was the Rav Shari Tzedek, and he's a Tzitz Eliezer. Lamaisa, he says as follows. Before the Bias Mitzvah, ein element derabanan. That's what we start. That's why I made mention before. We have to realize it's derabanan. If this was deraisa, like the Sefer Hamakneh says, we be in hot water. Lamaisa, we paskin, as you all quoted the Shach and Taz from the Magid Mishnah, that it's derabanan. Near lafias daiti livshait. Lemad istapakna lon eich yadin imrak ha'araba. So now, as you learn Kuf Sadi Beis, then you're going to get into Kuf Sadi Gimel. We're going to have to very, very clearly define what is be a Gemura, and there's different stages, and this is where things get very complicated. There's again, we're not going to do this full justice today. I'm just going to read this Tzitz Eliezer just to point out all the different moving pieces that have to be taken into consideration in these type of shaylos, in the Bia Gemura, Bias Mitzvah shaylos. You have a Kishoy, that's number one. You have number two, you have was there Zera, number two. Number three is how much of the Aver went into her body. There's Aver, the whole Aver, okay, that's one level. Then there's Roiv Aver, and then there's something called Ha'ara, and then there's something called Nishika, and then there's something called nothing. Now that sounded a little bit repetitive. Let me read the words of the Tzitz Eliezer that will hopefully help us quantify one half of the Shayla. So he says, what's the din with Ha'ara? Oy pachis mizeh. And he says, by the way, this happens very often, says the Tzitz Eliezer, don't be nervous. The dinahu, the mutter lava yalashini. So halacha is you're learning Kuf Sadi Gimel, that if there was just ha'ara, whatever ha'ara is, we have to qualify. They do not become aser al bias mitzvah, and they're allowed to continue trying. Says the Tzitz Eliezer, ulifnei. Shehispik lasi zeis b'layla sheniya, what of the lifnei, before they were able to do this on the second night, pierce a nida. So everyone got the case, they did a ha'ara, whatever that is, we didn't define it yet. Then she becomes a nida. Says it says mikivon dahabia shaba la hareino nechshavs labia gemura. So that's the shayla. It's not a bia gemura. Aval lefi amar diyotzlan disra yichod baze einoi bechlal ki im midrabanan im kein yesh makam lahakel baze veloymar dimikivon tisayf his chaber ima. That's his words. There was a hischabrus. There was a connection. Ve'ershu kvar ba'aleha imkein hitpayis kvar yitzrei bekach v'su lo takiv yitzrei aleha ulachein hotra kvar shaper beyichod ki'ish ve'ishteit alma. Says the Heilig Tzitz Eliezer, ha'ara is going to be enough to matter yichud because there was a hischabrus, and it's going to cause the yitzrei takva to be lessened. Now, Rav Yashiv, the Sefer Pischei Das, comes along and he qualifies a little bit further. And this is where it gets a little bit nitty gritty. Okay, that's definitely lechatchila. As we pointed out, it's quite a shas adchak. B'makom shas adchak yesh lo hakel af im hayorak nishikas ha'ever. Now, nishikas aver literally means that there's a kissing of the aver, which is, one would think, means that the aver touches the woman's oisemakim. But he explains, Dahainu shenichnas ha'aver ksas l'toich oisemakim. Okay, so the aver goes in a little bit. Ach loy dai b'kenisa b'toich esfasayim. It's not enough just being esfasayim. So, and Rav Yashiv is calling this nishika, which now seems to bring out that ha'ara is further. Now, this is a point that we have to wait. Kuf Sadi Gimel, whichever in the middle of learning, that's when we're gonna have to really figure out what is what, and that's when hopefully the shayla will be more clear. But what we will point out, and all the latter achrayim take on like this, that lamaisa, even if there's only ha'ara, there is a makaim to be mekel. There is a makaim to be mekel. Again, I don't want ha'ara is more than neshika. What is neshika and what is ha'ara? I'm not fully.
Neshika, he says what it is.
That's what Rav Yashiv said what it is.
Right.
We have to be careful. It's not.
Tell me exactly more
Yeah. We have to.
No one said so far that neshika is fine. Then.
Neshika is not fine.
Right.
You need ha'ara. The question is, what is ha'ara? Is here. It's a machlekes. Slow. Might be called hara. Very good. Yes. Meaning, we have to figure out what's hara. What's hara? How much? And by the way, that's what's going to happen. Again, without getting too graphic, we'll get more graphic in Mirchas and Kuf Sadi Gimel. But what's going to happen is that, again, either it's going to happen is that they did nothing and then it's a problem. But often what's going to happen is that there was something, there was ha'ara, there was a kishu, he was machnis a little bit, and then nothing more. So that's l'maisa, the level that in print over here, many achrayim are being machmer on, and we'll leave it at that. Whether anyone's going to be more mekel, whether anyone's going to be a little bit more mekel than that, let's just leave it as a shtickle tzarich in. What were you about to say? So the question is that this is what we were trying to point out: is how far is it going to go? Meaning the lashon in Tzitz Eliezer is ischaberima. Now, what does it mean ischaberima? Clearly, it has something to do, obviously, with Tashmish. That's obvious. So the question is, if there's a high level of chibuk v'nishuk with kishoy, and he's trying, and then there's only neshika, meaning the aver touched Makom. If you don't have that, you have nothing. If they pushed it, we didn't do anything.
I'm saying it had yichud already.
There's also, but we see clearly from the sugya that yichud is not what makes this yitzhara calm down. It's some level of tashmish. So the question is, what level? Listen, you learn this sugya, you think you're gemura. That's how far the achrayim are willing to be mekel, and that's the shayla, which we'll clarify more in Kuf Sadi Gimel. We have to go to Mincha. I want to read everyone a Sefer Chasidim before we call it a day. Sefer Chasidim says a very interesting line. We're discussing Tam Chimud and we're discussing the couple being engaged. So Sefer Chasidim says, "Umasha amru chachamim ein yitzhara sheilet el b'masha ein avrais." There's only a yitzhara for that which your eyes see. Ze yitzer chimud shel chimo matayva. That is the yitzhara of the desire for the chimo matayva, whatever this taiva is that you saw. Aval yitzer shalev boyer acher isha. The yitzhara that your heart lusts and burns after a woman, beloy riyah. That doesn't require riyah. Inyin zeh ka'adam hamishtageya. What he's pointing out is that even though chimud obviously has to do with whoever the woman is, obviously, but there is a level of chimud regardless of actually seeing the woman, meaning that it goes back to the regular level of yitzrei takfa, or the regular level of yitzhara for any woman. And what do you say? Is in chimud